My very first job was as a dishwasher in West Glacier at a restaurant just outside the entrance to Glacier National Park. I got a summer job there when I was 14. And I actually worked at another restaurant there in West Glacier the next summer. I used to ride my four-wheeler into work. I don't know, it was 15 miles one way maybe. I would ride a four-wheeler into work. It got cold in late summer, early fall, some mornings. So I washed dishes for a couple summers. Then when I was, my last summer there in West Glacier, I managed to get about $300 worth of traffic tickets. Long story. So, my mom and dad made me get a winter job. So I got a winter job at the Safeway in Whitefish, Montana. I think I was 16 at the time. Started there just as a bag boy. And worked my way up there at Safeway. I was there for 6 years. So, and like I said, I started as a bag boy, and then when I left, I was basically working as a night shift manager, working the closing shift there at the Safeway in Whitefish, and it was a good job for me. I learned a lot about customer service. You know, kind of forced me to get outside of my shell a little bit. I was a pretty shy kid. And I got to know a lot of the people there in Whitefish really well because I saw them every week when they went to get their groceries, and worked with some good people there. Had my first really good boss there, Paul Atkinson. He ran the meat department there at Safeway and was a great guy and a good mentor, took really good care of me, and was one of the first guys that taught me what it means to be a good boss. Very mild-tempered and patient. And he had to be, because he was trying to teach me how to be a butcher, which was a challenge, I'm sure. So I worked at Safeway for 6 years. Then maybe the last 3 years I was at Safeway, I worked a second job at the ski resort there in Whitefish. They called it the Big Mountain. And so I worked for a couple guys there. One of them's by the name of Doug Yeager. And Doug was the second guy that was just a really great boss for me. Took good care of me. He was just a good guy, good person, and taught me a lot about what it meant to be a good boss. And I still remember him fondly. And worked for Doug in the facilities maintenance department, so painting, weed eating, working parking, working security, building security in the summertime when nobody was there. Just doing all kinds of stuff. And I really loved that job. Really loved it. It was an amazingly beautiful place to work and work with really good people, and I'll never forget it. Got to see the northern lights a lot of times in the winter when I was at work, and just really great job. I was very blessed to have that experience. So when I graduated from college there in Montana, I was 22, and I was kind of in the middle of the dot-com bust. There was a little bit of a mild recession in the United States, and I looked all over the country for work and couldn't find anything, and I ended up landing a job at a company called KSN Engineering in Stockton, California. So I took that job when I was 22, and I was there for 12 years. So I worked at KSN for a long time, worked for a couple of really great surveyors, Chris Namer and Brett Setness. They were both mentors of mine, and give them a lot of credit for the surveyor that I am today. And I didn't realize it at the time when I was 22. Of course, you don't know much when you're 22, but looking back on it now, I realized that I was really blessed to go to work at a good firm. I could have gone to work at a crummy firm and wouldn't have known the difference, but went to work at a good firm. The surveyors at KSM practiced to a high standard, and Brett and Chris were both very smart guys and taught me everything I know, just about when it comes to surveying. Chris Niemer is a great geodesist. I don't think there's a better practical geodesist this side of the Rocky Mountains. So I learned a great deal from him. And Brett Setness is an awesome boundary surveyor, and taught me everything I know about how to be a good boundary surveyor. Brett taught me that I didn't need to up in the neighborhood every time I did a survey. It was a valuable lesson I learned from him that has served me well, even though it took me a while to learn it. And of course, worked for Brent Boitano, my very first party chief, and Brent taught me everything I know about surveying from a practical perspective. And is just a really good man, and learned so much from him, and benefited from being able to get his instruction in the field. And coming out of college, didn't know anything, didn't even know how to mark up a stake on a construction staking job, or how to set a control point, any of that stuff. Brent taught me all of that. So I was very blessed to work there. Worked there for 12 years. Just started as a rodman on a survey field crew. Eventually got put in the office, and while I was at KSN, got my LSIT. It's what we call survey apprentice, and got licensed in California and Nevada. Got my certified federal surveyor. Was there at KSN, and I left KSN in 2014 after 12 years. I went to work for a company called Odell Engineering in Modesto. Worked there for a year or two. Got to work with a good friend of mine, Ben Garcia at Odell Engineering, which I enjoyed very much. And Randy Odell was a great boss and was a good mentor. Taught me a lot about the business. Left Odell Engineering and went to work for a friend of mine, good friend of mine, Kevin Genasi, at a little company called Hawkins and Associates in Modesto, a little civil survey firm, and really enjoyed working for my friend Kevin. And met Danny Cano, my current business partner there, while I was at Hawkins. He was a surveyor working for Kevin, and learned a lot about land development from Kevin. I hadn't really done a lot of land development before, so when I was at KSN, 90% of my experience was public works, mostly large public works projects, a lot of right-of-way work. And then when I went to work at Odell, I didn't do very much private development work. Did a little bit of work on the Lathrop, the River Islands Master Plan community in Lathrop when I was at Odell. Not a whole bunch, but did a little bit. Did some GIS work on that project and some control work. And while I was at Odell, did some work on high-speed rail, but mostly was doing water, wastewater work while I was at Odell with a couple engineering firms in the Bay Area. Went to Hawkins and Associates and really got to learn the private land development side of the business from my good friend Kevin Genasi, and he taught me there, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed working for him, and I enjoyed working with him and Danny very much. Kevin was very patient with me while my wife was sick. My wife got real sick in that time period, and Kevin was great about giving me time off for doctor's appointments and allowing me to take care of my wife, and I'll be forever indebted to him for that. Left Hawkins and Associates a couple years later. There were some changes there at the management of that company, and Kevin ended up leaving. My friend Kevin left and went to work at another firm. So at that time, I moved to Guida Surveying. Went to work in their Pleasanton office for Adrian Trispando, and a little bit later for a gentleman by the name of Steve Mendenhall. Really enjoyed working for both of those gentlemen. Adrian Trispando and I are still good friends. I think we'll be lifelong friends, and really learned a lot from Steve. He was very mild-tempered and patient, good surveyor, and I enjoyed working with him. Still call him. I still call both those guys. Enjoyed working for him very much. When I was at Guida Surveying, most of the work they do in Northern California is gas pipeline work. So PG&E is a big client of theirs. They work for Chevron and some other companies. So I learned a little bit about that business and helped get their UAV program off the ground, UAV mapping program, and started to learn a little bit more about utility locating while I was there. Got to work with a really great utility locator, William Morales, one of the best guys I've ever worked with. So I learned a little bit about utility locating from him. Opened a Lathrop office for Guida Surveying and ran that for about a year with Steve Mendenhall. And then there were some changes at Odell, some executive management changes, and things were getting shaken up a little bit. So I left it at that point and went to work for Will Paul and Alex Calder at BKF. Went to work with a friend of mine, Logan Boggs, and was at BKF for a couple years. And continued to do private development work while I was at BKF. So when I was Hawkins, I did private development work. Then I went to when I went to Guida, I kind of got back into the public sector side of things. And then when I went back to BKF, I did almost all private development work. That's what Alex's team focused on. So I worked on some really cool projects there all over the Bay Area: San Francisco, Oakland, Belmont, Fremont, Sunnyvale, Mountain View. Worked on projects for Google, for Facebook, for Microsoft, tech campuses, data centers, all kinds of cool stuff, cool projects. Got to work in the financial district of San Francisco. So really worked on some interesting projects there. BKF built some really cool, big, complex projects. And when I was at BKF, I basically took over the utility locating department that was running out of the Central Valley, and managed 2 full-time utility mark and locate crews, and just learned all kinds of stuff about utility mark and locate over that 2-year period. Was taught a lot by Adam and Ray, my 2 utility locators, Adam Baggett and Ray Rodriguez. Learned a lot from those guys and really tried to bring a whole different level of quality to the utility locating business. So I left BKF in January, it was about 4 months ago, and started my own firm, Redefined Horizons. And, am grateful to have taken a lot of good training and experience with me from those other firms to Redefined Horizons, and started Redefined Horizons with my friend Danny, who worked with me at Hawkins and Associates, and also followed me over, came to work with me at BKF. So I get to work with him again now at our own firm, and he's a partner. So we're excited about that, and we're excited about what we'll be able to accomplish together.